Hello, this is astrologer coach Sonja Francis, and today we're going to be talking about the upcoming full moon in 22 degrees of Cancer, which will be exact on January 12th at 6:34 a.m. East Coast time in the US, which is also New York time, and 3:34 a.m. Pacific time, which is also LA time. Now, the full moon is always a time where we're learning about two opposite energies that are relating to each other, need to be integrated within ourselves, or we need to learn how to integrate it through our relationships. So relationships of all kinds are highlighted during this time, but with this particular full moon, there is a strong emphasis on family and business relationships. Because we're dealing with the Capricorn Cancer polarity, Cancer family, Capricorn business, right? And with the sun in Capricorn for the past 3 weeks, we've been mostly focused on the physical world and on long-term goals. And so we're now looking for balance and are more aware than ever that something needs to be brought back into alignment. And so therefore we're seeking this balance between the Capricorn and Cancer energy. Now, I will also address this in more detail in my next monthly forecasting forum on January 12th. And you will get a chance to take a look at your own birth chart in relationship to this full moon and everything that's connected with this full moon. And also I'll talk briefly about what to expect for 2017. So if you haven't registered for that forum yet, stay tuned. I have a special offer for this month, and I'll tell you all about it towards the end of the video. All right, so but back to the full moon and looking at this Capricorn Cancer polarity that we're trying to integrate here. Capricorn teaches us to honor all aspects of the physical world, like I already said, right? And so it really urges us to create and build something long-term that's of use to everyone in the world, right? Cancer, on the other hand, represents the formation of the emotional body. It has to do with our feelings. And so we're really getting a chance to understand our feelings and to help us navigate life by building an awareness of what's healthy for ourselves and what's harmful, right? To understand, what feels good, what doesn't feel good, where do I need to, where can I receive and where can I give, and vice versa. And in order to emerge as healthy beings in the world, in order for us to move into that Capricorn energy, we need to be able to nurture ourselves and others. And we need to be able to take care of our feelings and our inner baby. It's what I call the inner baby. It's that Cancer energy, because it's sort of the feeling energy is like a pre-verbal sensing, right? It doesn't have words yet, and that's why I call it the inner baby. So yet we also, in order for us to really live in the world, we also need to be able to evolve into responsible adults, and we need to be able to provide for ourselves and maybe even others as well, right? So Capricorn asks us to step into our power and maturity to the point where we no longer need to look outside of ourselves for approval or validation. So it's really about creating an inner mastery of ourselves, like a sense of centeredness and okayness no matter what, that we can take care of ourselves, right? And Cancer is about the healthy roots, right? So in order for us to really have that center of taking care of ourselves, we need to also have healthy emotional roots. And Capricorn is about sharing the fruits of the labor of those healthy roots, right? So in order to develop a healthier inner Capricorn, we must learn to listen to our feelings, honor our needs, and not disregard them. And only then we can build something of value and something that we can masterfully manifest in the outside world. So we're really trying to move towards mastery, right, with Capricorn. So questions you can ask yourself with this full moon: am I more connected to what nurtures me or to my shoulds? And shoulds is anything that we tell ourselves that we should do, need to, have to do. Those are shoulds, right? It's the parental voice inside of us, right? And then another question you can ask yourself, does my current environment support my inner growth? And that's a really good question to ask, because if our environment is such that we're not able to grow, that we don't feel nurtured or nourished, then we have to take a look at that, right? Because that's definitely then a limitation. And then the last question you can ask yourself, does it provide me with nourishing bonds to others? Does my environment provide me with nourishing bonds to others? And the reason why this is important is because we need other people. We need other people for support. We need other people for love and affirmations, and for feeling emotionally connected and rooted within ourselves. Other people really help us with that. And so if we don't have nourishing bonds with other people, it's much harder to connect to our own inner feelings, to connect to our own inner needs and what it is that nourishes us, right? Now, all the questions from this video, as always, are also available on my website at astrologercoach.com via my weekly forecast. After January 8th, I'll be posting them January 8th in the evening. And you can also sign up for them to receive via email. If you email us at info@astrologercoach.com, especially if you email us before January 8th. So just write weekly forecast in the subject line, and my assistant will add you to that particular mailing list. All right. Now back to the full moon. There's lots going on in terms of aspects. First of all, the sun in Capricorn aligns with Pluto. And so this provides an opportunity to truly align ourselves with our essence and with our purpose for these next 2 weeks. And so it also helps us though to detoxify a little bit and expose and purge all obstacles that are right now in our way, in order for us to be really in an authentic alignment with ourselves. So if there's anything inside of us that's not authentically connected to who we want to be in the outside world, this Pluto component really helps us to kill that off, or to detoxify ourselves from that, right? So question you can ask yourself here is, what lies between me and my authentic self? So are there any obstacles? Are there any barriers? Is there anything that's keeping you from really connecting to your authentic self? And really focus on dedication, focus on wholeness, focus on truth, and devote yourself to your true passions, things that you feel passionate about. And the things we feel passionate about are usually things that we don't have to think about. It's not something we have to effort with. Passion, there's no efforting. With passion, there is this sense of completely being immersed and connected, right? And so whatever that is in your life, like look for those places in your life where you feel that, right? And pay attention to that. And it's also worth noting that success and reward will come in direct proportion to the amount of passion and authenticity that we bring to the world, especially when it comes to our careers or long-term goals. So how authentic are you when it comes to your long-term goals, and how passionate, right? So check in with that. Just keep asking yourself, and remember that you don't have to answer these questions right away. None of the questions that I ask in the video are there. It's not an intellectual quiz. It's more like an inquiry into our soul and into our inner knowingness, so that we can keep asking these questions and see what arises, see what comes up, whether that's through meditation or through journaling, or just kind of by being with the questions and allowing ourselves to marinate in that, right? So this full moon also shows us how we demonstrate our power with in connection, because the moon is opposite Pluto as well, right? So there's also this ongoing T-square that we talked about in our last video already with Uranus, Pluto, and Jupiter. And that's highlighted again with this full moon. And so it underlines once again that each of us really has to step up and bring our individual light to the world and really stand in our power. We're really invited to stretch towards a more authentic, empowered society as a whole. One that honors the unique individual contribution of everybody, and a society that is also capable of owning its fears and less attractive characteristics, because obviously nobody is perfect. And so if we're not perfect as individuals, then of course as a society we're not perfect either. But we have to acknowledge it, we have to see it, and we have to say, yes, this is true. Because the more we deny it and suppress it and not acknowledge it, the more that dark shadow will grow within and fester within our society. So how can we go about that? How can we go about creating such a society? And so the best place, of course, to start is to honor ourselves and express our unique spark on an individual level. So conversely, we're also asked individually and collectively to look at our shadow behaviors and habits. And so shadow behavior and habits, these are the kind of words that people throw around a lot in the spiritual community, but it's very important to really understand what it means. What is the shadow? It's not just some dark place inside of us. It's everything that's unconscious and suppressed, right? So it's not just negative stuff. It's everything that's unconscious and suppressed, and aspects of ourselves that we cannot or will not be with for whatever reason. There's something from our childhood or something that we've experienced, and so we push certain things about ourselves away. But what we don't realize is when we push an energy away or something that we can't be with, we're not just pushing away the negative or the lower vibration of that energy, we're pushing the whole energy away. So we also then don't have access to the higher vibrations of that energy. So what we cannot face individually or collectively, that's the thing that disempowers us, because we're not able to connect to the higher vibrations of that energy either, right? So when something is unconscious, we have no power over it. It has power over us, right? So when we don't have power over something, we can't make choices. We can't make a direct choice in the matter when we don't know, what it is. And so how could we possibly change what we can't recognize, right? So that's why it's so important to acknowledge and look at things that we have suppressed, denied, or that we've just rejected about ourselves, or even about other people, because other people very often mirror that back to us, the things that we have rejected about ourselves. So when we're able to bring conscious awareness to our shadow, and then we have the possibility of choice, and then we can start to feel more empowered, because we can start to integrate those things little by little within ourselves, and then we can start to own the higher vibrations of those energies as well. So what might happen if I brought 5% more conscious awareness to the things I cannot be with? Now that's a really great question to ask yourself, and I would encourage you to just look at that and practice that for the next 2 weeks. What might happen if I brought 5% more conscious awareness to the things I cannot be with, right? And you don't have to embrace them fully right away. Just notice them first and acknowledge it. Acknowledge it for yourself, and then just see if you can start to take little baby steps towards that energy. And what I mean by that is, first, just see how you can maybe have a neutral approach to it rather than approach of and resistance, right? So just see if you can be neutral about it at first. And then once you're neutral about it, then see if you can start to maybe move towards it just a little bit and see what about that quality would you be able to embrace just a little bit, even in small, tiny doses, right? Now the full moon with the Cancer Capricorn polarity makes an almost exact grand cross to Uranus in Aries and Jupiter in Libra. So there's 4, with the full moon and Uranus and Jupiter, there's now 4 planets that are directly squaring each other and opposing each other. So that's a grand cross, which usually a grand cross accelerates the breakdown of long-standing patterns. So we're really invited here as individuals and collectively to resolve some core karmic lessons, shifting old paradigms to new ones, really shifting something that used to be something that we were attached to or that we were familiar with and maybe attached to out of familiarity, and to allow ourselves to kind of become more open towards letting it be okay either way, and to not be so attached, and to allow ourselves to shift some of these programmings that we have in our lives, right? So what might a new paradigm be? Take a look at that for yourself. See what socially, collectively, individually speaking in your own life, what might a new paradigm be? What might that look like? And how can we accomplish change without discounting input from others? And this is very important with this Grand Cross, because very often we think that change is something that happens if we actively do something and it's our cause, right? But what if change is also something that can be a collaboration with other people, even people that may not be exactly in the same position as you, people that may not have exactly the same point of view as you? What if change could come with the input from other people, right? And just kind of allowing ourselves to stay open-minded to that. And what if change was something we could simply allow rather than something involving aggression? And I think that's a really important question to ask ourselves and just be with, because that's also an energetic thing, right? Like, how can you allow rather than be the aggressor, right? So as best as you can, take it one moment at a time with this Grand Cross. A Grand Cross is not something that where we can move forward quickly, even though we may want to, but it's really a matter of, it's a process, right? So there's no rush here. Ask yourself, could I allow myself to be uncomfortable just for right now? And just remember, it's a process and it won't last forever, but you may not be able to push through it as quickly as you'd like. Okay, so just allow yourself to be with all the different components of these energies. So the position of the Grand Cross in our birth chart shows us where we are developing courage, right? And initiative, which is the Aries energy, emotional intelligence and the ability to nurture, which is the Cancer energy. Then diplomacy and collaborative spirit, which is the Libra energy, and responsibility and integrity, which is the Capricorn energy. So we will also look at our own birth charts in relationship to that Grand Cross in more detail during the monthly forecasting forum on January 12th. So stay tuned if you want to hear more about that. I'll talk more about that at the end of the video. Now, Chiron and Mars are currently both in Pisces and are very close together. They're aligning with each other. And this really supports this full moon chart because they're making a trine to the moon in Cancer and a sextile to the sun in Capricorn. Now, what does that mean? We are being invited to shift our relationship to the masculine energies and allow ourselves to honor our limitations around our spiritual body and our feeling body, right? Because Pisces and Cancer, they're both connected to our feeling bodies, right? And once we know how to do that, once we know how to honor our limitations around our feeling body and our spiritual body, that's when we can start to release this empowering childhood memories, especially anything that has us feel disconnected from our feeling body and our ability to listen to ourselves or feel safe in the world, right? These are all things that usually come from our childhood conditioning. And so if there's anything that's disconnecting us from that Cancer energy in a healthy way, or is not helping us to connect to it in a healthy way, where we're getting an opportunity with this full moon to just release some of these memories from childhood, right? So for the next 2 weeks, give yourself time to tune into yourself and nurture your inner baby. Nurture that pre-verbal feeling place inside of you. And ask yourself, what does my inner baby need from me? What does it need most from me? And what does it feel When does my inner baby feel most loved and taken care of by me? And what if giving and receiving looked and felt exactly the same? What would that feel like? So just allow yourself to be with these questions. You don't have to answer them right away. Just let yourself marinate in them, right? Now, another part of this chart is Saturn in Sagittarius, which is the ruler of Capricorn, still squares Chiron in Pisces. And we talked about that already in my last couple of videos. However, now it's also squaring Mars in Pisces as well, right? Because Mars has joined Chiron. So now there's a third component with that. So it's another opportunity to stretch and grow. And it's really, we really want to ask ourselves, could I shift from attempting to have a spiritual experience to simply knowing that I am always and already a spiritual being having a human experience? And that's, I think, is a really great question to ask ourselves and to allow ourselves to contemplate, right? And what might be possible if I could shift my perspective in that way? You know, what might be possible if I allowed myself to be more open to the realization that I'm not just human, you know, that I am human and that I have all the limitations that a human being has, physically, emotionally, spiritually, whatever they might be, but also that within that humanness there is spirit, there is higher power, there is a soul that connects me to the universe and to everything around me. And so so what if we had that perspective? How would that change things? Right? And what would inspired action look like if I also took 100% responsibility for the outcome? And so inspired action, that's really the Mars in Pisces, right? It's like we want to be inspired to take action. We want to allow the universe move through us, right? But we also, with Saturn and Sagittarius, we need to also take responsibility for the outcome that we're creating. So if we are in the higher vibration of that Mars in Pisces energy, then we are able to really be moved by things, right? If we're in the lower vibration of that Mars in Pisces energy, we might feel victimized. We might feel that we don't have enough energy, or that we feel too sensitive to deal with the world, right? But we still need to take responsibility for how we're moving with the energies, right? And so when we feel these lower vibrations, we might feel a huge limitation because of that. And Saturn is showing us that limitation. So rather than moving with the lower vibrations of those energies, see if you can step more into the higher vibrations of being moved and knowing that all is well, knowing that you are doing exactly what you need to be doing in every moment of your day. And then to also take responsibility for any outcome that you might get in the world, right? And not in the way of beating yourself up about it, but just saying like, oh, maybe I need to shift my energy. Maybe I need to be more open. Maybe I need to open my heart more and listen more, listen to what the universe is trying to tell me, right? In that way, right? So it would be lovely, of course, if everyone was on the same path, right? And at the same place, and all of us had the same revelations about our basic human nature and our limitations and our sensitivities and all of that. But of course, we all know that that's not the case. And so therefore, it's really paramount that we focus on our own inner processing, our own perspectives, without preaching to other people, without comparing ourselves with other people. And really just remembering that instead of that, each one of us we all have our path to walk. Each one of us has to do our own work, and taking responsibility for that too, that each one of us needs to go within and do that work, right? And doesn't mean we can't ask for support, but it means that it's still our own path to walk. Nobody can walk it for us. Nobody can give us the solution. We have to do it ourselves, even if we do receive support, right? So, of course, we can't control how fast or slow or how well or in what fashion anyone walks their path, or even how we walk our path. Sometimes it's faster, sometimes it's slower, right? But one thing we can do is, which we can always focus on, the power of healing. And healing comes from self-love and acceptance, and knowing that everyone, including ourselves, has their limitations and sensitivities, and that we have our expectations, we have our conditioning. And so allowing all of this to be what it is, and that is true self-mastery. Not fighting ourselves, not fighting what is so, but to really just allowing it, because there is an unfolding that happens all the time anyways, whether we try to evolve, whether we try to grow or not. We're always growing, we're always evolving, and so allowing that process to happen, that is true self-mastery. So try asking yourself, what am I learning about personal resilience at this time? And I think this is a question I already asked in my last video, but I think it's so important to sit with this question and to really allow yourself to marinate in that. What am I learning about my personal resilience in life, with myself, with other people, right? And what if respecting myself fully was just a decision? And what attitudes do I need to eliminate to achieve greater alignment with my own humanity and my world? And all of these questions are really beautiful questions that are connected to that Saturn, Chiron square and Saturn Mars square, right? So just allow yourself to marinate in that. And to sum it all up, for this full moon, tap into your inner courage, collaborate, see the interconnectedness between all there is. Honor your feelings and needs so you can build something of value and share the fruits of your labor with the world, right? So for the next 2 weeks, you can ask yourself, what if I listened, nurtured, and treated myself with respect, understanding, and love? And how might others benefit from that? And I think that is a fantastic 2 questions. What if I listened, nurtured, and treated myself with respect, understanding, and love? And how might others benefit from that? I think this is a really good finish for us. Now, if you have an ascendant, career point, or personal planets in 20 to 24 degrees of Cancer, Capricorn, Aries, or Libra, then this full moon you're going to feel it more strongly, will affect you more. But even if you don't have personal planets in those degrees and signs, the house placement in your natal chart that is affected by the full moon is indicated by the areas of life that are where you have Cancer and Capricorn in your chart. So take a look in your own birth chart if you have one. Where is 22 degrees of Cancer and Capricorn in my birth chart? And wherever that lands, those 2 points, those houses and areas needs to be integrated, and there needs to be a balance between those 2 areas in your life. Now, if you don't have a birth chart, feel free to watch my video, How to Read Your Birth Chart. You can receive that by emailing us at info@astrologercoach.com and just write recording in the subject line, and my assistant will email that link to you with some handouts. And I talk about how to get your own birth chart towards the end of that video if you don't have a birth chart yet. But it's also a great video to watch if you haven't seen it yet, right before you join my monthly forecasting forum, or if you just want to know a little bit more about how to read your own birth chart and how to apply my videos and my weekly forecasts to your birth chart. And if you already have seen my monthly forecasting forum, stay tuned until the end. I have another announcement for you as well. But first, I want to give an announcement to those who haven't joined me yet for my monthly forecasting forum. It's really the next best thing to getting a one-on-one reading with me. The reason for that is that we'll be looking at our own birth charts actively during those 90 minutes that we're together. and we look to see how the upcoming energies that are coming up each month are going to impact us personally by looking where these energy patterns land in each of our birth charts. So for this upcoming webinar, for this upcoming forecasting forum, we'll be looking at the Jupiter station that happens at the end of January, beginning of February, and also, of course, the full moon and the Grand Cross that's connected to this full moon in Cancer. And if you want to know how this is going to impact you personally, then feel free to sign up for this upcoming forum on January 12th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Time. And I will also share about what we can expect for all of 2017 briefly during the webinar, so we can all get a taste for what's to come for 2017. And I have a special for this month, which I already announced at the beginning of the video. Normally, my monthly forecasting forums are $24 for the 90 minutes. But this month only, you can sign up. If you sign up for 2 people, so if you sign up for yourself and for a friend, you get a 40% discount in form of a rebate, right? So you go to my website, to AstrologerCoach.com, and below the video Saturn in Sagittarius video, there's a link that you can click on to get to my forecasting forum page, and you can make your payment there. Please also be so nice and fill out the registration form that's also on that same page, because it helps me to know if you want to be joining live or if you want to watch it later as a video recording, which is also possible. And you can also ask questions in advance. You know, any questions related to what we're sharing in this particular forum are welcomed and will definitely be answered. So feel free to ask those questions in advance by filling out the registration form. And so, yeah, invite your friends so they can hear about what to expect for 2017 and so that they can apply, you know, some of the upcoming energies to their own birth charts, right? Now, for those of you who are monthly forecasting forum fans, or even for those of you who are new to the forums, I have a great package deal that is only available until January 12th. So if you do want to have support all year long, you want to feel more empowered throughout the whole year of 2017, then this is definitely a good deal for you. You can save $60 and receive 12 90-minute webinars from January until December. So if you want to do the package deal, you don't have to sign up separately for the January forum. You can just do the package deal, and the January forum is included in that, right? Now, again, all questions from this video are also available on my website at AstrologerCoach.com via my weekly forecasts. I will post it there on January 8th. So anytime after January 8th, you can have access to those full moon questions there in the full moon entry. And you can also sign up for them to receive them via email by emailing us at info@astrologercoach.com and just write weekly forecasts in the subject line, and my assistant will add you to that mailing list. If you don't want to receive forecasts every week, there's also a newsletter that I have in which I only send out my videos, special offers that I have, announcements about my courses, or anything else that I do. So if you would like to receive the newsletter, just email us at info@astrologercoach.com and just write newsletter in the subject line, and then my assistant will add you to that mailing list. All right. Now, if you have any general questions about the full moon or about astrology in general, I'm always happy to answer those. You can email me at sonja@astrologercoach.com. That's SONJA@astrologercoach.com. However, if your question requires of me to pull up your birth chart, if it's something a little bit more personal, connected to you, I will ask you to either book a reading with me at astrologercoach.com, or if you have any questions connected to what's coming up within the next 20 to 30 days, I will invite you to join the monthly forecasting forum on January 12th, all right? Or the next one. Also, very briefly, I will be away on a astrology conference in the end of January, so just keep that in mind. If you want to book a reading, I probably won't be able to connect with you until the beginning of February. All right, so have a fantastic full moon. I hope you're going to be able to explore the polarity of Cancer and Capricorn, your feeling body, and who you need to be responsibly out there in the world. And have a good one. This is Astrologer Coach Sonja Francis. Goodbye.